For today's gaming review, you're going to have to go with me on how I'm going to approach this, because it's left me in a bit of a quandary as to what I do as a gaming reviewer. Because Laserpitium has no unique selling point whatsoever and is almost like the gaming equivalent of a single profiterole, in that you eat it and it tastes nice and it's okay whilst you're playing or eating it, but as soon as you've swallowed it, it's as if I've totally forgotten anything about the game whatsoever, because it's left no indelible mark on me as a gamer. And so that then draws me to this kind of existential crisis of, if a game has no unique selling point, or no character, no personality, no pizzazz, no unique gameplay mechanics or anything like that whatsoever, or a style that makes it stand out, could you ever recommend it just because it's perfectly serviceable and okay to play whilst you're playing it? And therein lies the problem. Laserpitium is the first game that I can see from East Asia Soft where it's not been plucked from PC and ported over first, and it's come straight into console. And I think there's an interesting element in this, in that instead of East Asia Soft going and finding niche shoot 'em up games that have got a unique selling point, a unique graphic style, an interesting gameplay loop or mechanic that makes you have to think about something else apart from just pressing and holding shoot, I think they've missed a trick on why they do what they do for their business model, finding tons of these side-scrolling or vertical shoot-em-ups and porting them over from PC to console with easy trophies and achievements, but it means that they get their unique audience and we get to experience something we might not necessarily have picked up before. Laserpitium is the absolute definition of design by committee safety game design. And I'll explain what I mean. There's 10 levels throughout this game. Each one pretty much has a boss at the end. The bosses look like they've been stolen from R-Type quite often, and I have no particular issues with that at all. But it just feels like we've got, you need to have the circular boss, you need to have the boss that divides into two, you need to have the boss that goes up and down vertically on the screen. They're all here in a tick box that you check. The ships that you play are here as a tick box as you check too, but they are lazily designed in that way, in that you've got one ship that has rows of bullets that go out on either side, top and bottom of it, and when you press the secondary button it shoots behind, which is handy. Then ship 2 starts off with a very narrow shot, which is slightly more powerful, but its secondary shot puts it at 45-degree angles out to the side so that you can get things not directly in front of you. And then ship 3 is a basically auto-fire lightning bolt that automatically seeks out the nearest enemy to go and shoot and kill, and therefore removes an awful lot of skill that's required to play the game. As you go through all of these different enemies that you're shooting and killing, very few of them are anything that you haven't already seen in the same waves and same wave patterns that have come out in every other shoot 'em up there. But again, from this moment-to-moment gameplay, your ship handles relatively fluidly. The shooting works really well. It's totally bug-free and it plays quite nicely. It's got a retro early 90s chiptune soundtrack that is slightly grungy, metally and synthy, and whilst it doesn't have any immediate earworms, plays quite nicely. The background graphics actually did look quite appealing originally, and I had some high hopes for the fact that level 2 was entirely Egyptian themed, for example, and then there's one where you're in this really quite cool like nebula space, and it's got some nice parallax scrolling graphics. But again, it's not anything particularly standoutish that you've not seen elsewhere, and they do very little with it in terms of making the enemies themed outside of a couple of levels here or there, or that they have different attack patterns that do something other than move forward and shoot at you, or come from behind and shoot you. There needed to be something that just kind of made you feel different. And because there's no other gameplay mechanic aside from collecting some medals and trophies to add to your high score, or collecting power-ups that level up your attack from levels 1, 2, 3 and 4, but they don't fundamentally do anything, they're just more powerful versions of what you've already got. There's nothing here. And so it's so safe and it's designed by committee that as soon as I'd finished the game, I kind of went, I've played that. and I thought nothing of it afterwards because it felt empty. East Asia Soft have ported over games that are less competent, less pretty, less well handled, buggier, but they had personality, character, grit, graft, a unique selling point in maybe some graze mechanics or its combo meter or something like that, that made me feel more invested in like a Scrappy Rascal version of a game. And I think by, again, going back to this, forgetting to go back to why they picked the games that they ported over, Laserpitium could do with some of that character and thought process into how does it make it stand out. This feels like the first go of safety by numbers, and it shows. And so what I'd really like East Asia Soft to do if they're going to make originals come to console straight out of the box is to reinsert why did we pick this game to port from PC to console over, because Laserpitium plays very nicely, handles competently, has no particular game-breaking issues or problems, but it just screams 6.5 out of 10 everywhere because it leaves no lasting impression. And that's a real shame when there's been clearly a lot of work that's gone into its thought process and design, or at least I hope there has been. So yeah, Laserpitium is a profiterole. Who would have thought? I hope that gaming analogy and everything kind of makes sense. I appreciate this review is a bit of a ramble about like what is the meaning of life, but it really, really shows that when you design by committee for something that has no personality, yes, the moment-to-moment gameplay can be perfectly fine, but it just leaves you a bit hollow at the end, and that's kind of how I felt with Laserpitium. There's nothing I can tangibly go, that was a problem, but the sum of all of its parts left me felt deflated by the end, and it only took an hour to complete. Written review will be over on higherplayinggames.com. Any comments or questions, leave them down below. Interesting concept, I think, for a review. We'll see where we go with it in future. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/higherplane-network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.